You need to study, and so do I.
Welcome back to Prep With Me, where we collaboratively study in preparation for the SHRM-CP exam. The guide for our study journey has been the SHRM Body of Applied Skills and Knowledge, or BASK. Today, we begin the next major part of the leadership cluster, ethical practice. We'll be covering the 3 concepts of ethical practice and the examples referenced in the BASK. The first key concept is ethical business, principles, and practices. These are the behaviors and standards that demonstrate integrity, fairness, and honesty inside the organization. They include transparency, telling the truth, sharing relevant information, being open about decisions, authenticity, aligning actions with values, avoiding manipulation or deception, and conflicts of interest, avoiding situations where personal interests might compete with professional duties. For the test, choose answers where HR tells the truth even when uncomfortable, avoids favoritism, discloses conflicts of interest, provides honest information, and does not manipulate or hide critical facts. Definitely avoid answers where HR withholds information, disguises the truth to avoid conflict, overlooks unethical behavior, or favors certain employees or leaders. SHRM will reward ethical courage, doing the right thing even under pressure. So, question. A manager asks HR not to disclose that a new scheduling policy will reduce overtime opportunities because it will cause panic before we're ready to announce the details. What should HR do? A. Delay communication to support the manager's rollout plan. B. Recommend transparent communication about the upcoming change. C. Share the information only with employees who ask directly. Or D. Support the manager's plan but encourage reduced rumors. The correct answer is B. Recommend transparent communication. This question is testing ethical business principles, specifically transparency. B is correct because transparency requires HR to provide accurate information about changes that affect employees. Hiding material impacts like reduced overtime is unethical and will undermine trust within the organization. Both A and D are wrong because delaying disclosure to manipulate employee reactions would violate ethical principles, and C is wrong because withholding information just until asked is not transparency. Key concept number 2, privacy principles and policies. Privacy principles govern how HR handles sensitive information and who gets to see it. It includes anonymity, protecting the identity of individuals who report concerns, confidentiality, restricting access to sensitive data, opt-in or opt-out, allowing employees to choose how their data is used, and need-to-know access, only sharing information with those legitimately involved. When in doubt, protect confidentiality. So for the test, correct answers will show HR declining to share investigation details, protecting complainants' identities, securing medical or personal information, and restricting access to need-to-know only. Incorrect answers will show HR giving managers unnecessary details, sharing confidential information casually, violating anonymity, or revealing sensitive data during pressure. Question. During an investigation, a supervisor requests copies of employee witness statements so they can understand the problem better. What should HR do? A. Provide summaries but not the full statements. B. Ask witnesses if they're comfortable with disclosure. C. Share only statements that do not name individuals. Or D. Decline the request due to confidentiality. The answer is D. Decline due to confidentiality. This is purely about privacy. Investigation statements are confidential and only shared on a need-to-know basis. A might seem reasonable, but it violates privacy unless policy explicitly allows summaries. B is wrong, witnesses cannot waive investigation confidentiality, and C is wrong because removing names does not remove identifiable details necessarily. Key concept 3, internal ethics controls. The systems, the processes, and policies that ensure ethical behavior across the organization. They include standards for ethical investigations, protections for employee confidentiality, whistleblower protections, documentation and reporting procedures, mechanisms to prevent retaliation, and ethics training and reporting channels. Internal ethics controls prevent risk and maintain trust throughout the organization. Ignoring them is always the wrong choice for the exam. For the test, choose answers where HR follows investigative procedures, protects complainants, uses formal channels to report unethical conduct, documents findings accurately, and ensures ethical policies are applied consistently. Avoid answers where HR hides or minimizes findings, skips due process, avoids documenting issues, or ignores retaliation or bends rules just for convenience. Question: HR receives an anonymous tip that a supervisor is retaliating against an employee who filed a harassment complaint. What is HR's best next action? A. Ask the supervisor directly if the allegation is true. B. Wait for the employee to report retaliation directly. C. Document the tip and begin a preliminary inquiry. D. Forward the tip to legal and close HR's involvement. The answer is C. Document and begin a preliminary inquiry. This question is about internal ethics controls, especially whistleblower protection and investigation standards. C is the correct answer because the proper first step is to document the tip and initiate the confidential assessment to determine if the claim has any merit. A cannot be the answer. Confronting the supervisor immediately may tip off the accused and risk further retaliation. B is wrong. Waiting can place the employee in potential harm and violates ethics controls, leaving the company at legal risk. And D is wrong. Escalation to legal is appropriate if needed, but HR cannot abandon its responsibility to investigation. Great work so far. Let's do a rapid review with some questions on ethics key concepts. A senior leader asks HR to soften the language in a safety report because findings might alarm employees. HR verified that the findings were accurate. What should they do? A. Modify the report to maintain morale. B. Issue the report as written and discuss corrective actions. C. Rewrite the report using generic wording. Or D. Delay releasing the report until leadership assigns messaging. The answer is B. Issue the report as written and discuss corrective actions. Softening findings misrepresents the facts and violates our transparency. Issuing the report as written upholds ethical business principles and protects organizational integrity. Question 2. HR receives a subpoena requesting the personnel file of an employee involved in a lawsuit. What is HR's first step? A. Review the request with legal before releasing anything. B. Immediately send the file to the requester. C. Contact the employee for permission. Or D. Provide everything except medical information. The correct answer is A. Subpoenas require legal guidance before HR releases any information. This is a great example of when to escalate and involve legal. HR must ensure disclosure follows privacy regulations and legal processes. 3. A manager wants HR to skip documenting a verbal warning so it doesn't become part of the employee's record. What should HR do? A. Agree since verbal warnings are informal. B. Skip documentation but tell the manager not to do it again. C. Document the warning according to policy. Or D. Encourage the manager to handle it privately. The correct answer is C. Document the warning according to policy. Ethical controls require accurate documentation. Skipping documentation violates consistency, fairness, and due process. 4. An employee discloses to HR that they're undergoing medical treatment for a chronic condition. Later, their manager asks HR about the employee's diagnosis to plan workload. What should HR do? A. Tell the manager the diagnosis but ask them to keep it confidential. B. Decline to share medical details and discuss workload planning instead. C. Tell the employee to discuss their condition directly. Or D. Share only the general category of the condition. The correct answer is B. Decline to share medical details and discuss workload planning instead. HR must protect medical confidentiality. The HR professional correctly pivoted the conversation, redirecting to a workload discussion without revealing private information. Question 5. A recruiter is asked to help screen candidates for a role where their sibling has applied. What's HR's best action? A. Have the recruiter continue but disclose the relationship. B. Allow the recruiter to participate only in early screening. C. Remove the recruiter from all hiring decisions made for that role. Or D. Permit involvement since the recruiter can remain objective. The correct answer is C. Remove the recruiter from all hiring decisions. Because it's a conflict of interest, disclosure alone is not enough. SHRM expects removal from the decision process to ensure fairness. Great job! We just completed the first section of ethical practice, ethical key concepts. Remember, SHRM expects you to treat ethics as non-negotiable. No context within the questions will ever justify hiding findings, adjusting a report, changing ratings, skipping documentation, disclosing confidential information, or protecting a leader at the expense of an employee. Even if the scenario looks complex, the ethical rule will stay rigid. In the next lessons, we'll walk through ethical practice sub-competencies. If this helped you study, please like, subscribe, and join me for Lesson 12.